Building an audience is a slog. It's this knockdown, drag-out fight, which makes me think of those gladiator scenes that are just really, really long, and the whole time you're thinking, how in the world do they have this much stamina to continue to swing that sword and dodge the enemy for so long? I feel like that's what growing your audience tends to feel like. I mean, you've probably tried all the things: email newsletters, podcasts, YouTube videos, online networking events, and you're simply just posting as much content as you possibly can to gain the attention of your target audience. And unless you're among the lucky few who somehow have their content just explode across the internet, it becomes this dragged out dogfight just to get people's attention, let alone even thinking about potentially getting a new follower from the whole thing. So here's the 007 golden gun strategy to finally start growing your audience and therefore your business. You ready for it? Stop. Yeah, stop trying to build your audience. Just stop it. I mean, clearly it's not working and it's sucking the life out of you a little bit more and more every single day that you continue to try. Instead though, shift that effort over to what I'm gonna share with you today in this video, and you'll immediately begin to see growth in your business, get incredibly valuable insights to help you improve, feel great about your effort to progress ratio, and of course, through all of this, you will build the audience that's incredibly engaged with what you do online. But before we can really unpack this, we have to look at the two organic methods of growing your following. The first one, the more traditional thing that I talk about a lot on this channel, is content creation and content distribution. It's the organic content that you post online, on your website, social media, everywhere. And the way that I define content is simply, it's the packaging and distribution of words that aim to deliver a specific message. You can format your content to be either text, audio, or video, and it can live on your website, in an online group, or most commonly, posted across your social media channels. The whole aim of your social media and content marketing strategy is to deliver value to your target audience, which these are the people that you want in your tribe. These are the people that you know that you can help with the things that you offer, with the content that you put out there, and the products and services that you sell. The whole intent with your content is that they begin to come closer and closer to your brand, from random person on the internet to your next brand loyalist and a customer for life. That's the ideal. And there's a ton of reasons why creating and posting organic content is critical to the success of your solo business. Things like improved discoverability. It's just more chances to be seen. The more you post, the more you create, the more chances you have of showing up on somebody's feed on their phone or whatever device that they're on the platform with. The other thing that it helps you with is demonstrating your authority and expertise. If you say you're a professional mechanic and you're able to put out content that shows you doing the thing that you're great at, you're proving that you are who you say you are, and it therefore tells them why they should be listening to you. And it further demonstrates how good you actually are and why they should be following you. And the other advantage that content has is it helps deepen the trust with your followers, with the audience that you have online. When you continue to show up and provide value in your own unique way, it continues to deepen the relationship between you and your audience. Simple as that. But what makes content so hard to lean on as your only audience building tactic is that it can take a really, really long time before that momentum begins to build. And so we'll use Mr. Beast as the example because we all at this point know who he is. It took him 5 years to reach his first 1,000 subscribers, which is a super small number compared to the fact that I believe he just broke 200 million recently, but it took him 5 years to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark. And I know that you don't want to crawl at that snail's pace, especially when time is money. And that's why focusing on building quality connections that root for you is today's audience building growth hack. So let's check this out. Hey, real quick, I've done a bunch of research on what helps podcasts like this grow, and the data continues to prove that this one thing can make or break your show, and that is audience engagement. So I have one small ask that requires almost nothing from you, but would mean everything to me if you could do the following. If you're watching this on YouTube, please tap the like button and then subscribe to the channel. And no, because you subscribed doesn't mean that I'm gonna blow up your feed from now on. But if you're catching this episode on your favorite podcast streaming, on a different podcast streaming app, be sure to rate the show from your device and consider following the show as well. Those quick actions take about 3 seconds and it directly supports this content and my business. All done with it? Awesome. Let's jump back into the show. You see, when we're talking about online connections, the way that I define this is simply, at least in this context, they're your digital buddies. These are the people that share similar values to yours and are continually cheering for your success. For example, just in the past couple of weeks, I've met a handful of really solid people that have become great connections. And that's all just through connecting across one platform, which I like to use X, formerly known as Twitter, to make all of these connections. It's just a really good platform for that. And if you're signed up to get my email newsletter, then you'll see in the entry, I put the links to just the 4 top dudes that came to my head. And together, the combined audience of just those 4 guys is well over 11,000. And for me, I'm kind of tiny. I only have 191 at the moment of recording this. So feel free to go over to Twitter and help me break past that 200 mark. That'd be awesome. But if you look at the math on that, my 191 versus their 11,000, I'm only 1.7% of the total following that those guys have combined. And no, I'm not caught up in these numbers by any stretch. It is not my main focus, but this data definitely serves as an example to showcase my point. Trust me, I'm incredibly grateful and humbled for every single follower that I have. And honestly, I'd rather have 1,000 deeply engaged followers or 100. I mean, the number is arbitrary. I'd rather have a small amount of deeply engaged followers than 100,000 plus of the complete opposite. People get so caught up in the metrics. Their success is predicated on how many followers they have. What are the numbers of the views that they have on their YouTube videos? Or how many impressions do their tweets get? I mean, that's not at all how you build a solid business. Those are just people that have clicked a button online. We're looking to build an audience, and that's a separate topic, the difference between audience and followers. But nonetheless, we're gonna follow these things as like a breadcrumb trail to the end goal of building an audience anyway. And really my goal in building these connections is not really to get my digital buddies to share my stuff to their audience all the time. Although when they do that, I'm really grateful because, hey, it does give me more exposure to new people that may have not found me otherwise. And on top of that, there's a slew of other benefits to creating solid online connections with other solopreneurs in your space. For instance, the cross-promotion of content and offers, the collaborations on new content and products. In fact, if you watched last week's entry, I did this impromptu video call with my buddy Mitch, and we basically went into this recording with no agenda, no expectations, no anything. It was just organic conversation between 2 friends who share a lot of interests and have questions to ask each other because we just like the topics of the things that we're involved in. And so what came out of that, not only was this full-length hour-plus long episode that went onto my podcast, onto my blog, here on YouTube, all of these things, but then we were able to repurpose that main thing into 40-plus pieces of other micro-content that we can both share across our channels. That's a massive win. So that's something that building great connections will afford you the opportunity to do. Other things are just simply like idea sharing. If you have a thought or you need feedback on something, you have some people in your inner circle who are intelligent enough and honest enough to give you the critical feedback. Whether you like what they're gonna say or not is separate, but you know that you have some solid people that you can bounce ideas off of. And in turn, it also increases just the rate of growth in your knowledge. You start to build skills a lot faster. You just become smarter because you're surrounding yourself around smart people. And then of course, my favorite benefit is the I have a guy for that, the inside hookup type of thing. You know, it's always nice when somebody's like, hey, I need a video editor, or do you know anybody who can help me with my copywriting? Or I really need this landing page built, but I just don't have a whole lot of time. I need to pay somebody to do it. Do you know somebody? To be able to say, yeah, I got you. I've got a guy for that. Not only does it make you feel good because you can help this person in need, you can help them out, but you're also sending business over to your new buddies. That starts to pay back in dividends over time. That's how you can all start to win together. And also recognize all of these things also fuel the audience growth or audience retention in one way or another. So essentially, you're having your cake and eating it too. You're building your audience, you're making new connections, you're getting out in front of new people, you have somebody to bounce ideas off of, you have people to collect feedback from, and you get to grow and celebrate wins, not just on your own, but within a community of people that support you and are cheering for your success. And so with the example of me doing this almost exclusively across the X platform, here's some tips to help you build a pool of connections on X. And these can very likely work for you on other platforms as well. Just modify as you need to. The first and the most easiest is follow your boy Evan. I'm on there all the time and I would love to connect and chat with you. This is by far the easiest one of them all, and because you're watching or listening to this right now, I'm gonna call it a mandatory one for you. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you as soon as this video is over. The second tip is just reply to every single DM that comes in from a real person. There's a lot of people that are just kind of spammy and whatever, but you just have to learn how to deal with that and work through it. No matter what platform you're on, you're going to come across that. And obviously only a certain percentage of the people sliding into your DMs will turn into a great connection, but give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I mean, you can suss it out as you go. You start to get a lot better at knowing who's sliding in for very short-term wins and gains that are all selfish motivated, as opposed to really making solid connections. So give everybody the benefit of the doubt and you'll figure it out as you go. The third tip is move the conversation over to a video call as soon as you possibly can. The longer that it just sits there and lingers in the inbox, they start to get busy, you start to get busy, they forget who you are, and what could have been your newest best friend will become just another name in the inbox archives of these very short and temporary conversations. And in light of moving the conversation somewhere that you can deepen the relationship, invite them onto your email list if you have one, especially if you genuinely think that they'd enjoy it. The more places that you can show up, and this is true for the people that you're trying to bring into your audience and also the professional connections you're making along the way, the more places that you're showing up online in front of them, the more that they begin to understand your direction and your specialties. And who knows, they may begin to share your stuff with their audience too. And another tip is engage with as many people in the comment sections as you possibly can, especially if it's your own post. If you put up some content and people start to reply to it or they're commenting on it, make sure you're engaging with them. That's obviously the first place to start. But then beyond that, go out to the other big accounts, start commenting, leaving your feedback, your 2 cents, your additional thoughts, whatever it may be. Start engaging with people online in those comment sections, and they're gonna start coming closer and closer to you, where potentially a new connection can be found. And my final tip, which is kind of a new one for me, is setting up an auto DM to send out to every single new follower that you get. I could make an entire entry on this one alone because there's a lot of intricacy to it, but it can work really, really well if you're not robotic about it. You know, you don't wanna just shoot out auto DMs. You don't wanna sound like a robot. You don't wanna come across like AI and tech and not a real human. But there are ways that you can use this type of tactic to help you make new connections and get that conversation ball rolling. And before we finish today, let's just get one thing straight so that there's no room for confusion here. You may be thinking, oh, Evan, you're just pretending to be friends so that you can leverage their status in their audience to build your own thing. That's really crappy of you, dude. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, you're about 15% right, I guess I could say, probably closer to 10. It's a small slice of a bigger pie here. Because in general, building connections as an audience building tool has massive upside. You get in front of other people's audience, and that's absolutely part of my intention. But this potential opportunity is only one small element of the much bigger picture. Yes, it's a growth tactic, but it's also an honest way to build with and alongside others that are set out on a similar path. And it's obvious, we all know that there's plenty of room for all of us to win. And so I'd say we do it together. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more content on this channel ready for you right now. If you're catching this on YouTube, consider dropping a like and be sure to hit the subscribe button before you leave, because that simple action exponentially helps this channel grow. I value your time and attention, so thank you for sticking around. You're the best. And until next time, peace.